So, yesterday we started talking about the different regions of Texas. We're going to continue talking about them today. Now, yesterday we tried to do two regions and we kind of ran out of time. So, instead of doing two regions today, we're just going to stick with one. That way we don't have to worry about running out of time. Okay? So, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into.
We never got to do Education Galaxy.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet, Nakai. But if you have a question, sir, do me a favor. Come on, raise your hand. Don't just start shouting out and interrupting. We're going to go ahead and continue looking at the different regions of Texas. Like I said, because we ran out of time yesterday trying to do two, we're just going to stick with one today. That way we can get it done and we don't have to worry about time as much. I'm going to go into our digital classroom, one for our social studies. I'm going to click here and we're going to watch the video. Now, if you remember last time, we already watched part of it for two of our regions, so we're going to watch it for the next one. Since we're going to be watching a video, go ahead and turn off your cameras. That way the video looks a little bit smoother for everyone. And let me see. We had gotten through the first two regions. So it was right about here. All right. And then we're going to see what information they have to tell us about this new region that we're going to learn about today. Make sure we turn off our cameras for now, so that way everyone can see the video pretty smoothly.
It's also very hot and has mild winters. Farming, ranching, shipping, and oil are the largest industries in this region. Our third stop is the High Plains region. The High Plains region is also known as part of the Great Plains. Most of the Texas Panhandle is located here. Land in the High Plains region is higher, but more level than other regions. It's very high in elevation, but it is still very flat. In the southern part of the High Plains is a landform called the Edwards Plateau. It's very high and flat, like a table. The southern and eastern parts have hills, though. This area of Texas is often called the Hill Country. In the Texas Panhandle is a landform called the Cap Rack Escarpment. This is where the rolling central plains meet the high, flat land of the High Plains. In the southern part of the High Plains is another escarpment called the Balcones Escarpment. Spanish explorers called it that because it looked like balconies.
So they've been showing us some pictures of what they call escarpments. Those ones look like, and you can see it here, it looks like a huge wall just made out of rock. But it's not something that people went and built. It's just there naturally. It's what the land looks like.
Palo Duro Canyon is the largest canyon in the U.S. It is sometimes called the Grand Canyon of Texas. The High Plains region is very dry and has little water supply. Early settlers faced many droughts and sandstorms. However, in the winter, the Panhandle will often get blizzards, a very harsh snowstorm.
They tell us that it's very, very dry there, but in the winter it also gets really cold. You can see here some of the pictures of a blizzard, and you can see that everything is just covered with ice. You can see some of the lines here that show that the ice isn't just freezing normally, it's freezing like almost sideways. There's lots of wind and things like that.
Ranching is very popular in the High Plains. Flat grassy land is perfect for raising cattle. What you don't see are armadillos. It's much too cold here.
So this, if you've ever wondered why they have that name for those certain kind of cattle, longhorn, you can see exactly why they get their name here. They have a very, very long gap between the tips of their horns. So cattle is pretty popular there because of ranching. Got very large flat pieces of land, so cows and cattle can walk around and eat grass very easily. But like they said, armadillos you don't see a whole lot because it's too cold for them. They don't really like that kind of weather.
Wheat and cotton are important crops in the high plains. Wheat can grow in areas with little water. Two major cities in the high plains are Lubbock and Amarillo. Both cities grew after railroads were built in Texas. Railroads carried the cattle to markets back east. Today, both Lubbock and Amarillo are home to many different industries, including farming, cattle ranching, gas, oil, healthcare, and tourism. Okay, everyone, back on the bus again. Make sure you took plenty of notes, and remember, this area is a very high flat land. There's plateaus, mesas, and canyon. This region is very dry with little rain. It's a cooler land because of the high elevation, and major cities are Amarillo and Lubbock. Important crops include cotton and wheat, and the Cap Rack Escarpment separates the Great Plains from the Central Plains.
Okay, so again, this is kind of like our quick little cheat sheet of facts for this region of Texas. So the land here is very, very high up, and it's very flat. There's not a lot of hills or bumps to it. So they have plateaus, they have mesas, and they have canyons there. Plateaus and mesas are very similar. Both of them are kind of like having plains. It's just flat land. And usually it goes up almost like straight up, and we saw some of those escarpments, so they look like walls, and the tops are just flat. And then they have canyons, which are like big like holes in the ground, almost like if someone took their hand and just scooped out a bunch of ground. And they take years and years and years and years and years for water to slowly carve these grooves into the ground. We see that the region here is very dry, so it's not as dry as the one that we live in. We live in the one that has the least amount of rain, but it's still very dry there and only a little bit of rain. And because the land is so high up, it's actually very cold, or it gets very cold, especially in the winter. Like we saw that picture of the blizzard that they have to deal with sometimes, and it I agree with you, Alexa, it did not look very fun to live there during a blizzard. They have the major cities there. So the major cities would be things like places like Amarillo and Lubbock. Those are two of the major cities there. So in addition to cattle ranching, they also like to grow crops. They have farms, and two of the important crops there are cotton and wheat. And they have our different landforms there. They have the Cap Rack Escarpment, and that one, even though it looks like a wall and it kind of acts like a wall between the Great Plains and the Central Plains, which are the last region of Texas that we haven't talked about just yet. Okay, so that's the end of our video for today. The last part is for our very last region of Texas. We'll save that for tomorrow. So for now, we can go ahead and turn our cameras back on. And we're going to look for our work today. So we're going to go to classwork. Over on the left, I'm going to find my topic, which is social studies. Yesterday we did Texas regions, part 1. Today we're doing Texas regions, part 2. And let me get my copy, so that way we can read together. Okay. So this one, like I said, we're not going to do 2 today. We're going to do just 1 region. So this title should be Panhandle Plains.
One question?
Not 1 question, Nakai. 1 page. Alexa.
Are you going to read it to us?
Yeah, so just like yesterday, we'll read the story together, and then I'll go one by one and I'll read the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Messiah.
Are we gonna do Education Galaxy next?
My computer says that the assignment's not found.
Okay, what I want you to do is go ahead and up here at the top, go back to the classroom first, where you just see this, and then press the reload button. And then go back and find it again, okay? You'll go back to classwork. On the left side, you go to social studies, and then click on it again. Christopher, after this, yes, but for right now, we're going to focus just on our work that we're doing together. Well,
How
that
am I
we're reading
gonna do
together,
this?
I guess.
Remember this morning I told you I found how why I couldn't do my work because of my meeting. I
I do
don't know how
remember.
I'm gonna do this work.
Same way as we've been doing the other work, Christopher. Make sure that you're following along. Make sure you're paying attention, and then afterwards, or whenever it loads for you, then you can go back and put in the answers.
I usually do all my work after school.
So then you already know what you're gonna do, unless it loads for you right now.
Look at Harley. She's so cute. Harley. I can hear it.
Okay.
My assignment says not. My assignment says assignment not found.
Just like I told Messiah. Go to your Google Classroom, go back, click on where it says stream, and you see this picture up here. Then press the reload button. After it loads again, go back to classwork. On the left side, go back to social studies, and then find it again. Texas Regions Part 2. All right. So, our passage for today says, the Panhandle Plains is the northernmost area of Texas. It is called the Panhandle because it is shaped like a pan with a long, narrow top and a wide area below it. This region has plains or flat, grassy land. These plains are mostly treeless. The eastern part of the Panhandle isn't as flat. It's more of a rolling plain. So that means it's got lots of hills right next to each other. So it's like one hill and then another hill and then another. The western and eastern parts of this region are divided by deep canyons. The state parks, Cap Rock Canyons and Palo Duro Canyon, are located in this area. These canyons were carved by flowing rivers. They're often called inverted mountains since they are upside down mountains in the ground. So they call them that because mountains normally go up into the sky, but canyons go the opposite way. They go down into the ground. There are several rivers that run through the Panhandle Plains. These rivers include the Red, Pecos, Canadian, Brazos, and Colorado. So there's lots of rivers there, tons of them. Yes, Nakai?
I can't type anything.
Let me see. It was letting me type, Nakai. Click on the blue boxes. And someone was saying earlier that if it doesn't work the first time you click it, click on it twice. Now after we have... didn't finish it. Some common animals found there are roadrunner, prairie dog, burrowing owl, and the western diamondback rattlesnake. Who here has ever seen a roadrunner in real life? Okay.
It didn't work.
Hold on, I'm going to try to log in as you, alright, Nakai, and we'll see. If you've never seen a Roadrunner before, but you've seen the cartoons, like those old cartoons, where it's a really tall bird and it's like a blue color, Roadrunners do not look anything like that. They are actually very small, little tiny birds that run really fast. In the cartoons, they make them look huge. But in real life, if you ever see them, they're tiny, tiny little things. I always just thought that was weird. I don't know why in the cartoon they made them so tall, and then in real life they were so small. Okay, so it's working okay now? Alright. I don't know. I mean, their legs just have to work fast, I guess. I don't know how they're so fast if they're so small. Kylie, if it's not working, try just closing the window, baby. The whole thing. You'll have to rejoin the call and everything, but we'll see if that helps. But not closing the tab, not leaving the call. Close the actual window. Click on the red X. Up at the top. Okay. Question number 1. Why is the region called the Panhandle? I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to type out my answer. Why do they call this region the Panhandle? Okay, good. I'm glad it's working now. Yes, Nakai.
Because it looks like
I
a
didn't ask you to
pan.
answer it. Type in your answer. We're not giving our answers to everybody, Nakai. We're just writing our answers for ourselves. Kylie?
Mine's still loading.
Okay, Christopher.
Could you read the story again? I couldn't hear the whole time.
Okay. The Panhandle Plains is the northernmost area of Texas. It is called the Panhandle because it is shaped like a pan with a long narrow top and a wide area below it. This region has plains, or flat, grassy land. These plains are mostly treeless. The eastern part of the Panhandle isn't as flat. It is more of a rolling plain. That means the rolling plains have like hills, but it's one hill and then another one right after that and another one right after that. So it's just hills and hills and hills. So it's very bumpy. Let's see. The western and eastern parts of the region are divided by deep canyons. The state parks, Cap Rack Canyons and Palo Duro Canyon, are located in this area. These canyons were carved by flowing rivers. They're often called inverted mountains, since they are upside down, like upside down mountains in the ground. So instead of going up like mountains, these ones go down into the ground. There are several rivers that run through the Panhandle Plains. These rivers include the Red, Pecos, Canadian, Brazos, and Colorado River. Some common animals found there are roadrunner, prairie dog, burrowing owl, and the western diamondback rattlesnake. Yes, Messiah, you do. When you're finished, you turn it all in. Just make sure you answer all of the questions. Speaking of questions, question number 2. What are plains? Go ahead and click in there and write your answer in. What are plains? Question 3. Name 2 state parks located in this region.
Can you read it again?
Which question?
No, can you read the story?
Oh, the story. The Panhandle Plains is the northernmost area of Texas. It is called the Panhandle because it is shaped like a pan with a long, narrow top and a wide area below it. This region has plains, or flat, grassy land. These plains are mostly treeless. The eastern part of the Panhandle isn't as flat. It is more of a rolling plain. The western and eastern parts of the region are divided by deep canyons. The state parks, Cap Rack Canyons and Palo Duro Canyon, are located in this area. These canyons were carved by flowing rivers. They're often called inverted mountains, since they are upside down mountains in the ground. There are several rivers that run through the Panhandle Plains. These rivers include the Red, Pecos, Canadian, Brazos, and Colorado. Some common animals found there are roadrunner, prairie dog, burrowing owl, and the western diamondback rattlesnake. Okay. Question 4. Why are these canyons called inverted mountains? Why are these canyons called inverted mountains? Bailey, you have a question?
Is it okay if you read the story one more time?
Sure. The Panhandle Plains is the northernmost area of Texas. It is called the Panhandle because it is shaped like a pan with a long, narrow top and a wide area below it. This region has plains, or flat, grassy land. These plains are mostly treeless. The eastern part of the Panhandle isn't as flat. It's more of a rolling plain. The western and eastern parts of the region are divided by deep canyons. The state parks, Cap Rack Canyons and Palo Duro Canyon, are located in this area. These canyons were carved by flowing rivers. They're often called inverted mountains since they're upside down mountains in the ground. There are several rivers that run through the Panhandle Plains. These rivers include the Red, Pecos, Canadian, Brazos, and Colorado. Some common animals found there are roadrunner, prairie dog, burrowing owl, and the western diamondback rattlesnake. Question 5. Name 3 rivers that run through this region. So we're going to click on this box here and write down. You don't have to name all the rivers, it just asks you to name 3. Name 3 rivers that run through this region.
I need to go.
And question number 6. What animals can you find here? Click there and write down what kinds of animals we can find in this region. Once you've answered all 6 of the questions, you're going to go ahead and turn it in. But make sure before you turn it in that you answer all 6 of the questions. If you leave a question blank, then it's going to be counted like it's wrong. So make sure you answer all 6 of them before you turn in your work.